Hey there, I'm Daniel Dale. I'm a CNN fact-check reporter. President Donald Trump is back doing coronavirus briefings. And in this round, he's spoken a little more softly, he's been a little more on script, and he's been at least a little bit more willing to acknowledge bad news. But he's still being pretty dishonest. This week in the White House briefing room, Trump tried to put part of the blame for the worsening national pandemic situation on the recent wave of racial justice protests.
There are likely a number of causes for the spike in infections. Cases started to rise among young Americans shortly after demonstrations, which you know very well about.
Now, public health experts had feared that the protests would cause a spike in cases, but at this early point in the research, there's no evidence at all that that actually happened. Numerous cities that had big, repeated protests, including Chicago, Minneapolis, New York City, did not see a spike, and a group of economists did a study of 315 cities and also did not find a spike. Now, why not? Possibly, experts say, because many of the protesters wore masks, and the protests were outdoors where the virus transmits less effectively. Now, Donald Trump tells a lot of outlandish lies, but sometimes he uses a more sophisticated form of political dishonesty. He'll use an accurate statistic in a highly deceptive way. Listen to what he said this week about the percentage of people testing positive for the coronavirus.
Our nationwide positive test rate is beginning to decline and is currently at 8.8% compared to over 16% at its peak in April. It's coming down. It's coming down fairly rapidly.
So Trump's April and July numbers were correct, but he was entirely incorrect with his claim that the rate is rapidly declining. So what was missing from his claim? Take a look at this chart. The entire months of May and June were missing. While the rate did decline sharply between April and mid-June, it then rose sharply from a low point of about 4.3% to above 8.5%. Experts say we need to be below 5% for a safe lifting of pandemic restrictions. One thing hasn't changed about these briefings. Trump is still downplaying the severity of the pandemic.
A lot of the country has no problem whatsoever. Most of the country, actually. The Northeast has become very clean. The country is in very good shape, other than if you look south and west, some problems. That'll all work out.
We're again having days with more than 1,000 coronavirus deaths. Hospitalizations were right around a record high at the time Trump spoke. It is obviously ridiculous to claim that most of the country is in great shape other than huge outbreaks in massive population centers. Second of all, there is no place in the country that does not have the problem at all. While the biggest outbreaks at the time Trump spoke were in the South and West, there were rising cases in 23 states, including places like Maryland, Illinois, North Dakota. So this is not just Florida and Texas. Individual cities in places far from the South were also having big problems. For example, Dr. Deborah Birx identified 12 cities the day before Trump spoke. She said were showing concerning signs. It included several in the Midwest and Baltimore.